The rain hammered against the windows of our little cottage in the Cotswolds, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For 20 years Barnaby, a clockmaker, had loved Isolde with a quiet, unwavering devotion. We'd built a life here, filled with the gentle tick-tock of time, the scent of lavender from her garden and the comfortable silence of shared evenings. I was 46, or so I thought. Lately, though, the silence had become strained, the lavender scent overpowered by something sharper, unfamiliar. Isolde, always vibrant, had grown distant, her eyes holding a secret I couldn't decipher. It started subtly. Late nights at the gallery where she volunteered, claiming extra shifts for an upcoming exhibition. Weekend trips to London for art workshops that she couldn't explain in detail. I chalked it up to her newfound passion, happy that she was exploring her creative side. I even encouraged it, buying her new art supplies, framing her amateur sketches with pride. The first real crack appeared in our facade a few weeks ago. I'd been working late in my workshop, meticulously repairing a grandfather clock, a family heirloom. I decided to surprise Isolde with dinner, a rare treat. I called her from the village pub, but her phone went straight to voicemail. No big deal, I thought, she's probably busy at the gallery. I drove there, the rain already starting to fall, and found the place dark and locked. A handwritten note taped to the door read, "Closed for a private event." My heart skipped a beat. Isolde hadn't mentioned any private event. I called her again and again, but still no answer. A cold dread began to creep into my bones. I drove home, the rain now a torrential downpour, my mind racing with possibilities, none of them good. I found her car in the driveway, but the house was empty. I waited, pacing the floor, the grandfather clock in the hallway ticking mockingly, each second an eternity. She finally arrived around midnight, her face flushed, her hair slightly disheveled. "Barnaby, darling, you're still up," she exclaimed a little too brightly. "I am so sorry my phone died. The private event at the gallery ran late." "What private event?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. "The gallery was closed when I went there." Isolde hesitated, her eyes darting around the room. "Oh, it was a small gathering just for the artists, very exclusive. You wouldn't have enjoyed it." Her explanation felt flimsy, rehearsed, but I wanted to believe her. I desperately wanted to believe her. I swallowed my doubts and forced a smile. "I just wanted to take you out for dinner," I said. "Never mind, I'll heat something up." That night I lay awake beside her, listening to her even breathing, feeling a gulf widening between us. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was letting my insecurities get the better of me. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it began to grow, fueled by her increasingly erratic behavior. Then came the text messages. I know, snooping is wrong, but I couldn't help myself. Isolde had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to take a bath. It buzzed repeatedly, and each time she would rush to check it, a secretive smile playing on her lips. One evening I noticed the name Jasper popping up on the screen. I didn't recognize the name. Curiosity, or perhaps a deeper, more primal instinct, got the better of me. I waited until she was asleep, her breathing deep and regular, and then I carefully picked up her phone. The screen was locked, but I knew her passcode, our anniversary date. I hesitated for a moment, my conscience warring with my suspicions. But the need to know was too strong. I entered the code and opened her messages. My blood ran cold. The messages were from Jasper, and they were explicit, intimate, filled with a passion that Isolde had never shown me. "I can't wait to see you tomorrow, my love," one message read. "I'm counting down the hours until I can feel your skin against mine," another said. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The room spun, the familiar walls closing in on me. My Isolde, my loving, devoted Isolde, was having an affair. The woman I had built my life around, the woman I had trusted implicitly, had betrayed me in the most profound way imaginable. I read through the messages, each one a fresh wound, each one confirming my worst fears. They had been seeing each other for months, meeting in secret, sharing moments that were supposed to be mine. I learned that Jasper was a sculptor, another artist she had met at the gallery. He was younger, bolder, more exciting than me. I wanted to scream, to rage, to confront her right then and there. But I knew I couldn't. I needed to gather my thoughts to formulate a plan. I carefully placed the phone back on the counter, my hands shaking, my heart shattered into a million pieces. The next few days were a blur. I went through the motions, pretending that everything was normal while inside I was crumbling. I watched Isolde, studying her every move, searching for any sign of guilt or remorse. She seemed oblivious, lost in her own little world, her thoughts clearly elsewhere. I knew I couldn't stay in that house any longer, not with her, not with the weight of her betrayal crushing me. I needed to escape, to find some semblance of peace, to figure out what to do next. I decided to visit my sister, Bront, in York. I told Isolde I had a clock repair job there, a lie that came easily now. "Be careful," she said, barely looking up from her phone. "Drive safe." I packed a bag, my hands trembling, my mind racing. As I was leaving, I noticed a small, intricately carved wooden box on Isolde's dressing table. It was a gift I had given her years ago for our 10th anniversary. Inside, she kept her most treasured possessions: a dried rose from our wedding day, a lock of our daughter's hair, a small porcelain doll her grandmother had given her. On a whim, I opened the box. Nestled among the keepsakes, I found a photograph. It was a picture of Isolde and Jasper, their arms wrapped around each other, their faces radiant with happiness. They looked like lovers, completely and utterly in love. The sight of it sent a jolt of pain through my body, a pain so intense it took my breath away. I slammed the box shut, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my bag and stormed out of the house, tears streaming down my face. I drove to York, the rain pelting against the windshield, blurring the road ahead. I didn't know where I was going or what I was going to do. All I knew was that I had to get away, to escape the suffocating weight of Isolde's betrayal. Bront welcomed me with open arms, sensing immediately that something was wrong. I poured out my heart to her, telling her everything that had happened, the doubts, the messages, the photograph. She listened patiently, her eyes filled with sympathy and anger. "That bloody woman," she exclaimed when I had finished. "I always knew there was something off about her." "You deserve so much better, Barnaby. You're too good for her." Bront's words were comforting, but they didn't ease the pain. I felt like I had lost everything: my wife, my home, my future. I spent the next few days in a daze, unable to eat or sleep, replaying the events in my mind, trying to understand how I could have been so blind. Bront encouraged me to confront Isolde, to demand an explanation. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was afraid of what she would say, afraid of the truth. I knew that once I confronted her, there would be no going back. Our marriage would be over, and I wasn't sure I was ready for that. Then one evening, Bront showed me something that changed everything. She had been doing some digging online, trying to find out more about Jasper. She discovered that he was not just a sculptor, but a renowned artist with a string of successful exhibitions to his name. He was also married. "Look at this," Bront said, handing me her laptop. "This is his wife, Genevieve. She's a lawyer, very successful, and she has no idea about Isolde." A slow smile spread across my face. An idea began to form in my mind, a way to turn the tables on Isolde and Jasper, a way to make them pay for their betrayal. I spent the next few days hatching a plan with Bront's help. We researched Genevieve, learning about her life, her career, her friends. We discovered that she was a highly respected member of her community, a woman of integrity and principle. I decided to write her a letter, an anonymous letter detailing Isolde's affair with Jasper. I included copies of the text messages, the photograph, everything I had. I made sure the letter was factual, unemotional, and irrefutable. "Are you sure about this, Barnaby?" Bront asked as I sealed the envelope. "This could have serious consequences." "I'm sure," I said, my voice firm. "They deserve it. They've both been living a lie, and it's time they faced the consequences." I mailed the letter, and then I waited. The waiting was agonizing, each day stretching into an eternity. I imagined Genevieve reading the letter, her world crumbling around her just as mine had. I felt a pang of guilt, knowing that I was inflicting pain on another innocent person. But I also felt a sense of satisfaction, a sense that justice was being served. A week later, Bront called me, her voice trembling with excitement. "Barnaby, you won't believe what's happening," she said. "Genevieve has found out about Isolde and Jasper. She's kicked him out, and she's planning to sue Isolde for alienation of affection." I felt a surge of triumph, a sense of vindication. My plan had worked. Isolde and Jasper were about to face the music. I decided to return home to confront Isolde face to face. I walked into the house, my heart pounding, my hands clenched into fists. Isolde was sitting in the living room, her face pale, her eyes red and swollen. "Barnaby," she said, her voice barely a whisper. I need to talk to you." "I know," I said, my voice cold and hard. "I know everything." Isolde burst into tears. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened, it just happened." I repeated, my voice rising. "You've been having an affair for months, lying to me, betraying me, and you tell me it just happened." "I know it was wrong," she said, her voice pleading. "But I was unhappy. You were always so distant, so absorbed in your clocks. I felt like you didn't see me anymore." "That's a load of rubbish," I said, my anger rising. "I loved you, Isolde. I devoted my life to you. And this is how you repay me?" "I'm sorry," she repeated, her tears flowing freely. "Please forgive me. I want to make things right. I want us to go back to the way things were." "It's too late for that," I said, my voice flat. "You've destroyed everything. I can never trust you again." I told her about the letter I had sent to Genevieve, about Jasper being kicked out, about the lawsuit. Her face crumpled, her eyes filled with horror. "You did what?" she gasped. "You ruined my life. You ruined your own life," I said, my voice unwavering. "You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences." I turned and walked out of the house, leaving Isolde sobbing in the living room. I didn't look back. I knew that our marriage was over, that our life together was finished. But I also knew that I had done the right thing. I had stood up for myself, I had exposed the truth, and I had made them pay for their betrayal. The divorce was messy and bitter, but I didn't care. I was free. I sold the cottage in the Cotswolds, and I moved to a small town on the coast where I opened a new clock shop. I focused on my work, on my friends, on rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy, but I was determined to move on, to find happiness again. Isolde, on the other hand, didn't fare so well. Genevieve's lawsuit dragged on for months, devastating her financially and emotionally. Jasper, abandoned by both women, spiraled into depression and alcoholism. Their affair had destroyed their lives, just as it had almost destroyed mine. A year later, I received a letter from Isolde. She was living in a small apartment in London, working as a waitress. She apologized for her behavior, admitting that she had made a terrible mistake. She said that she missed me, that she regretted everything that had happened. I didn't reply. I had moved on, and I didn't want to reopen old wounds. I wished her well, but I knew that we could never be friends, that we could never be anything to each other again. I eventually found love again, with a kind and gentle woman named Meredith, a botanist who shared my passion for nature and my appreciation for the simple things in life. We built a new life together, filled with love, trust, and mutual respect. I never forgot Isolde, but I learned to forgive her. I realized that she was a flawed human being, capable of making mistakes just like everyone else. I also realized that I was stronger than I thought, that I could survive heartbreak and betrayal, and that I could find happiness again, even after the most devastating loss. The rain has stopped now, and the sun is shining brightly on the coast. The waves are crashing against the shore, a constant reminder of the ebb and flow of life. I am standing on the beach, holding Meredith's hand, watching the seagulls soar overhead. I am at peace. I am happy. And I am grateful for the lessons I have learned the hard way. The story isn't about revenge, it's about justice, and ultimately about moving on and finding peace after betrayal. I learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well.